Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We all appreciate that.
Everybody happy now?
Is this yours?
Yes. Yeah. In as much as we got this as a separate item. Okay. Okay, at this time I'll reconvene the City Council meeting and we'll move on to our business item number 3, and that's selection of a developer for Silver Rock Resort.
Mr. Mayor,
staff report.
Mr. Mayor, before we get started, I just would like to announce that as of yesterday morning, we had one development entity elect to withdraw their application or their proposal for this, and that's Discovery Land Company. So as we get into this discussion, while the staff report shows 3 firms, I just wanted to let you all know that we're now down to 2.
Okay. Les?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. For the past almost 10 months, dating back to July 3rd of last year, there's been several meetings focused on consideration of developers for the Silver Rock Resort. As you recall, 2 weeks ago, the study session that was conducted focused in on confirmation of the development direction for Silver Rock Resort. And at this point in time, there are 2 development teams that are interested in partnering with the city to develop Silver Rock Resort. We have the Beverly Park Development Group and Meriwether Companies both expressing that interest. In the staff report that's provided to you, there's a summary of the Phase 1 development proposals. And there's greater detail provided in a fairly large attachment that came with that report. Should council desire to select a developer team, staff would work with that selected party to generate business terms. And we anticipate that that process would take approximately 90 days to complete. We have representatives in the audience, several representatives for both of the development teams that I'm sure are wanting to address any questions you may have this evening. At this point, I'll conclude the report and certainly be happy to answer any questions you might have with regards to this matter.
Okay. Thanks, Les. Linda, questions of staff? Terry?
I don't have any questions of staff right at this time either. Thank you.
Okay. Lee?
I don't have any questions of staff. I do have some questions for the applicants, but not at the staff at this point.
Okay. Christy?
I just have one. Parking, is this all intended to be underground, mostly?
That has yet to be determined. Both of the proposals don't identify specifics with regards to number of parking or exactly what type of parking, but we would anticipate there likely be some structured parking associated with it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I don't either. We do have several people that wish to speak, and I think at this time we'll bring the people up and have them say what they need to say.
Sure.
Okay. Mark Brownstein. And if you would give us your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Mark Brownstein. I live at 79880 Riviera in the PGA West of Nicholas Residential. Honorable Mayor, members of the council and staff, you see me sitting with Brian Adler from Beverly Park. I'm not a member of his team. I've known Brian for some 60 years. It's a long time. We run into each other periodically. I saw him a couple of months ago and he told me about Silver Rock development and his interest in it and what he was doing and asked me to look into it with him. My background is, are you familiar with the Ernest Hahn Company? Ernie Hahn built the Palm Desert Mall. I was with Hahn for 6 years as president of Hahn International, so I'm quite familiar with real estate development. I was also with the developer who built the Lakewood Center, the Eastland Center and convenience you go by, Fallbrook Square, and a lot of shopping centers as well. For the last many years, I've been a consultant to some companies like Oryx, the Ray Watt Company, AMC Theaters, Far West Realty Advisors, and for the last 6 or 7 years I've spent time in Asia, bringing U.S. capital to developments such as yours at Beijing and Shanghai, in other parts of primarily China. So I'm familiar with this type of development and the importance to the city. I'm not really here to talk about the merits of the developers. I think all the developers are good. I think that they are capable. The three that I read about, the last 3 days I read the total proposals on the internet, including the attachments, and I have some comments on those. I see what's important to the city. The most important thing to the city is the TOT taxes, primarily. The income, that the development gets completed in a timely manner, and it's a world-class development, that it's first class. That brings up the question of financing, because I think that if you assume that the developers are all capable, then it's how do you finance this project? There's no financing, debt financing in the marketplace for a project like this at this time. So it's got to be done with cash or with equity. Brian proposes that he can finance and has the financing to build 100% of this project. He does not have to seek outside financing. As fast or as he can build a project reasonably well in a timeline, he can build it at one time. He doesn't have to build a phase 1 or a phase 2 or phase 3 except as planned for the entire development. I think that's the key. The other developers that I saw were going to build it in phases. One proposed a 60-room hotel, the other proposed a 75-room hotel. No golf course. We've just heard today that the golf course has to be built because I don't think people are going to stay in a hotel without a golf course. And then they can't use Silver Rock because it's filled up in the season. Same with PGA, the courses, the public courses there. That being said, the other developers, it appears to me, are going to sell off condo units. They're going to raise equity capital, private equity, and build a small hotel and some condo units. And as they sell those units, they will then build the phase 2 and the phase 3 if the sales are successful. And that's a huge question. It's not a good market for condo sales or home sales in the price range, in any price range, really. So we don't know what's going to happen in 2 years. Brian, from what he showed me, the letters from his financial partners, they all have the money. The money will be in the bank, be able to be proven within the next short period of time that he does have the money to build it. And I think from your standpoint, I think you've got to be safe that it's going to get built. Not that you're going to build one boutique hotel, condos with it, hope to sell the condos and go on to the next phase. What if it doesn't happen? You're stuck here with a small boutique hotel, no golf course, some condos, the rest of the project in dirt, and it's not what you're looking for. I think that that's the problem. You won't get your TOT, you won't get your $10 million in 10 years, which is what you need, and you won't get your development built in a timely manner. That's what I have to say. I asked Brian if he mind if I came up here just to say that, because I think that's the key to the city. I live in the Quinta now. I don't want to see this project with a small hotel, and that's it, and dirt around it. I don't think it'd be good for the city or for anybody here. And so therefore, in the interest of the city, I think you ought to consider that the project gets built basically at one time over a 3-year period, a 2 to 3 year period, and it continues in an appropriate manner to build it, and that's not contingent upon raising money by private equity or from sales. So, any questions? I'll be happy to answer. But I've also been in the capital markets for the last 10 years, and I know what they are. And it's not easy to build golf courses and hotels today.
That's right. Yeah. Good. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay.
K. Wolf, 77227 Calle Ensenada. I feel at a bit of a disadvantage in speaking before the developers have made their presentation, which I assume they'll make another presentation. But I did hear their presentations, was it in January?
Yep.
So I have a little bit of idea of some of the different philosophies and the way they're approaching the development of the land. But anyway, here goes. Basking in the economic and occupancy surge of the Coachella and the coming 2 weeks makes us all chomp at the bit for more hotel rooms and tourist attractions. However, how about the other 45 to 48 weeks per year? Does Golden Voice's stimulus merit a huge number of new hotel rooms to compete with our current 4 hotels? Is golf the recreation of choice of our baby boomer retirees? How can new commercial retail not sap the meager cash stream of Old Town and other small businesses? Doesn't any hotel strive to keep its clientele on site and at the expense of local businesses? Does La Quinta want an island of its prime land dedicated only to high-rolling tourists? Do we really need another golf course? Should the Silver Rock properties be designed for tourism and not for local La Quinta residents? How can potential recreational benefits such as mountain hiking and biking be assessed by locals? How many hotel rooms are too many? Do we need more exclusive residential areas? Does today's slow growth economy not dictate a multi-phase and flexible construction schedule? How can a tourist development interface with residents and local cultural events in future theater settings? I don't have answers to any of these, but I'm sure you're going to find them. I don't envy you your task, but I think there are a whole lot of things to consider when you evaluate the different philosophy and land use and the rate and the amount of the growth. So, good luck.
Thanks, Kay. Okay, John Gamlin.
Oh, sorry. It says not to adjust the microphone, so that's the first thing I did. But Mayor Adolph and council members and staff, just a couple brief comments, and of course we're happy to answer any questions. I want to reintroduce tonight 2 of the Meriwether partners are here, Jerry Engel and Graham Culp. In addition, and I'll bring him up in a minute just to say hello because you haven't met him, we have Robert Green from the Robert Green Company, who, as we have said consistently through our presentations, is our intent to bring forward as a master developer best-in-class partners to develop areas of Silver Rock in what we would see is consistent with the vision and what the city's looking for. And Robert is the party that we're partnering with on the hospitality component, as we've listened and we've heard the importance of that over the last several months. Since we've been before you going back into the summer, I think that our vision for the project has remained consistent and it's evolved. We've tried to be good listeners. I think in putting our proposal together, we found that we felt like we had some synergies with some of the things that the city was hearing and thinking about relative to the multi-generational aspects of the property and the inclusionary aspects of the property. And, you know, I'm hearing some comments tonight even from people in the audience that talk about how do we bring the community in. We understand the connection of La Quinta back to its incorporation to the arts community, and we've tried to provide for land uses on the site that do that. We think that phasing the property as we have proposed allows it to grow in a orderly, consistent, and organic fashion. We have a plan we think that is can evolve and adjust to changes over time, as opposed to being there on the property and not considering changes that might happen over the build-out cycle of the project, and that includes the changes in demographic trends as well as the ability to assess golf immediately, but to continue to do that without losing the opportunity as the project develops. That is a placeholder that the city has the ability to come back to and revisit the golf course. So without taking up a lot more time, I'd like to bring Robert Green up to just briefly tell you a little bit about his company and maybe share some of his thoughts as far as our partnership with him in bringing forward the hospitality component on the property.
John, is Mr. Green a major developer part of this project?
He would be a partner with us, a best-in-class partner that we would bring forward as the master developer to develop two of the planning areas.
Okay. My question in asking this is we're going to give the developers an opportunity because this council has some questions they'd like to get cleared up, and so we're going to give them the opportunity. And if he's going to be the one that's going to be speaking for your developer and that, then I'd rather bring him up at the time.
I think as it relates to questions concerning the hospitality, he would certainly be best qualified to respond to those. As far as the overall development, we would be responding to that.
Oh, you would be?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then that's fine. He did have a request to speak, so he was next up on the list.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, John.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, and City staff. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak for a few minutes. Initially,
name and address.
I'm sorry. Robert Green, the president of the Robert Green Company. I reside at 1440 Akita Lane in Encinitas, California.
Okay. Thank you.
I just want to introduce my company since I haven't had a chance to meet the council before. I have had the opportunity to speak to city manager and the community development director. The Robert Green Company has been in business for about 15 years. We are a developer of primarily luxury, but also four-star hospitality projects and what we refer to as mixed-use projects. In our resume of projects, we have the Four Seasons Resort Aviara in Carlsbad, California, which also included a Four Seasons Residence Club and an 18-hole Arnold Palmer golf course. We developed the Four Seasons Resort in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which also had a residential component that consisted both of hold ownership residences as well as fractional interest units in Jackson Hole. We also developed the Four Seasons Hotel in Palo Alto, California some years ago, which was just a straight hotel with meeting space, spa, restaurant, etc. More recently, we are currently working on a project in Sonoma, California with Montage Hotels and Resorts that will include a 130-room hotel plus 70 homes and a number of public amenities, including a public park, a fire substation, affordable housing, etc. We are also working with Montage on a project in San Diego. We are also currently working on two lifestyle hotels, one in Hollywood, California with Kimpton Hotels and Resorts, which will break ground later on this year. I'm here to answer any questions you have. Be happy to come back and answer those. I wanted to just let you know how excited we are about the prospect of being involved in this project. We are very proud of everything we've ever built. We really look forward to bringing a world-class resort with multiple hotels to your city, and we're very excited about the concept that Merriweather has brought forth. We think we have a great solution to the hospitality component that answers a lot of the dynamics and a lot of the challenges that our industry faces today.
Just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Looks like you got a lot on your slate.
Yes.
Are you financially able and capable of taking care of all of these projects if they all broke loose at the same time?
Well, I can tell you that I've never spent less than 4.5 years on a project. In fact, on some of these projects, I've spent in excess of 9 years. And we very seldom have two projects under construction at one time.
Okay.
This project, for instance, with the planning that has to go on, permitting, et cetera, by the time we break ground and get done or get going, we will have completed our projects in San Diego and in Hollywood.
So you're able to balance it?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Question, if I can.
Sure.
In these other projects that you've put together,
Yes.
you talked about an aspect of you've got the hotel rooms and you've got a residential aspect to it.
Yes.
How do these work together?
Typically, especially in the luxury sector, the residential component is branded with the hotel so that the residential component offers services provided by the hotel. Everything from security, housekeeping, basically folio management where you can come in and utilize the services and the facilities of the hotel, the spa, the restaurants, the concierge, et cetera. In the case of Jackson Hole, the ski concierge and the ski facilities, locker rooms, et cetera. In the case of Four Seasons Aviara, which is now a Park Hyatt, by the way, but the timeshare component is still a Four Seasons. We have a golf course there. We have a spa, multiple restaurants, et cetera.
Do these residential units create bed tax, TOT?
Yes, actually, they can be if the entitlements allow so. In fact, what we've just structured with the City of Healdsburg and Sonoma is that a significant number of our residential units, which will be closest to the hotel, are allowed to be utilized and placed into a rental program with the hotel. And any rental usage of them generates TOT.
And in this particular development, how, well, you know, we'll have to ask some other questions later, but how key do you see the second golf course in the success of the hotel?
I think that needs to be studied very carefully. Obviously, there are options because this project is fairly land-rich. I think looking at the option of building a third 9, in addition to the option of building a complete 18 for the second one, are both worth analyzing. I think we have to look long-term at what the demographics of the market are and all that. But I think those options exist. At the end of the day, I believe there will be a need for more golf. I can't tell you today whether that means 9 more or 18 more.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seth Sebastian?
Good evening. I'm here as a...
give us your name and address
I'm sorry.
For the record.
Seth Sebastian Hoffman. I live at 52862 Eisenhower Road Drive.
Someplace over there.
I never got that driver road part straight, but I'm here as a 13-year resident of La Quinta, and I know I stand here at this podium. I love La Quinta, and I know you sit there as a city council and workers. I'm absolutely certain you love La Quinta too. You know, I moved here in the year 2000 as a new graduate of a photography school, specifically with the purpose to become a part of the arts community here, which I did. I got very fortunate, and actually during the summer I was looking for a place to live. I happened into the La Quinta Arts Festival offices, where I met the woman I'd spoken to on the phone named Rami Fleischman, who I'm sure some of you know. God bless her. Anyhow, and talking to Rami, it was in July. It was about 110, and she's like, "What are you doing here? You know, artists don't normally come by to pick up their applications." And I said, "Well, I'm thinking about moving here. I got an offer in on a place, and in about an hour, I'm going to sign the documents." Well, Rami said, "Well, before you do that, you got to come see where I live because it's for sale, and it's an old historic place on a half an acre, and this is music to my ears because I never thought I would find an old beautiful home in this town. I thought everything was pretty new." Well, I'd come to find out that there were 20 beautiful old homes up in that cove, and I happened to be very lucky to purchase one of them, which I've lived for 13 years. Anyhow, that first year I was very lucky as well. I was accepted into the Arts Festival, and I won top new artist at that time, and I fell in love with this community even further. And in fact, I had the good fortune because of Rami to meet some of you, and I just felt very, very fortunate for that. Anyhow, as the years went on, I think it was 2002, the Embassy Suites came to be and was debated by the council. One thing I loved initially was that there was a plan for the village, and that was a very distressing thing that came to be because the village plan came not to work with the Embassy Suites project. So I'm not sure about all the matters behind it, but you know, things change and we need to grow, and sometimes you can't always stick to what you plan on doing. Anyhow, through the process of the Embassy Suites Hotel, which I actually came to be a part of fighting against the height, I spoke at this podium, and I've got to say, it's very distressing to feel like you, a community member, are not always in sync with your city council. And at that time, I did not feel in sync with the city council. And it wound up being something that kind of felt like it pushed me away from the town. And Don, I wanted to say I'm very sorry for what you had to experience recently regarding this potential lawsuit. And I could really relate to you because in trying to help save the city for what I thought, I felt like I alienated myself from the city. Mm-hmm. And in 2003, I won top photographer. And I believe you are the only person in the town, representing the town, came by my booth. And I had to wonder, you know, why? Why was that? And it made me regret a little bit on how I might have presented myself at the time and my words. I probably could have done a better job, but I did the best at the time for my love of this town. Which gets me to today. I think this is an absolutely incredible town. As of 2005, I had stopped doing art festivals and I started looking at other places to live. My trips and travels took me around the world, and I looked at moving back to Italy. And Italy had changed so much, it didn't seem quite the same. I wound up back here in La Quinta. Then I went out to Colorado. I wound up back in La Quinta. Then I went up to BC. I wound up back in La Quinta. Every time I came back here to La Quinta because it felt so homey and so just warm. And anyhow, and not to digress too much about that, I've wound up back here. I own my home on Eisenhower, and I just now have a lot in escrow, my dream lot in escrow, over on Cali Quito. And I'm hoping this works out because I'll be building my dream home there. I plan on living in this community for the rest of my life, at least part-time. And I'd like to say, I love the direction this town is going in. Old Town is gorgeous. I love the fact that we actually were able to work together a bit, although it was a bit controversial to get that height limit down to 45 or 56 feet. Oh, please allow me a second. This is the first time I've spoken since the last time I've spoken.
No problem.
Anyhow, I love this town. I've got a 13-year-old dog that I bought when I got here from a game warden off the Salton Sea Game Refuge, and that dog is now nearing the end of its life. I take him to that beautiful dog park you guys help get built over there behind Fresh and Easy. Every day I drive past that Embassy Suites, and I was just noticing last night that elevation is perfect. It's fine. I'm so glad we were able to find some consensus on that because you could still see the ridges. Well, the last 7 years have been kind of tough for me because my medium has completely transformed to digital. While I am still a traditional photographer, it's been a tough 7 years, but finally, through this town, through hiking the canyons, through photographing the canyons, through biking the cove, I've kind of found my way again. And it was all, I'd say, almost specifically directly due to the serenity of the cove. I love this town. I love the quietness. I've seen over the last 13 years this town go from, you drive around and not see anybody you'd recognize at the market or the coffee shop, and now you do. It's wonderful. There's a real sense of community building, and I really would love to see that grow even further. But I'm a little distressed that I have not heard the word community or children mentioned regarding Silver Rock or some other matters, and I'm here to state the case for them that we are in desperate need of a beautiful pool facility. And I'm here to ask you, well, one thing, I heard some wonderful news, I think, before this meeting started, that is there 40 acres dedicated to a community park at the corner of?
At the corner.
God bless you, because I did not know that. And I was ready to come here and be angry again, and I tell you, thank you. I'm ready to come up there and give you all hugs. Yeah. But the next step is I'm hoping that this can be developed with the true 365-day-a-year committed citizens of La Quinta, that we can get an infrastructure of a beautiful pool like Palm Desert has now, that I don't know how they funded it, but it's earning, I think, well in excess of $400,000 a year, and it's self-supportive. I would very much like to see that followed through with, that 40 acres followed through with for the community. And I'm here to express my interest as a full-time Cove resident that the facilities for 365-day-a-year residents is somewhat lacking. And in regards to Silver Rock, I'm not a golfer, not yet, and it's kind of distressing a bit that this project, until now, until I found out about this 40 acres, didn't seem like it was about the community per se, but it's more focused on earning money, which is very necessary. We're in tough economic times, and I'm in total agreement. We need to build something beautiful there, and I've loved what I've heard so far. But I'd also hope that we can start moving forward on some community infrastructure, such as a pool, maybe an indoor bike park for the children, something covered that could be used during the summer. I've even thought I would like to broach this idea of building or collaborating maybe with the YMCA or the the Boys and Girls Club. Is there something we can do to come together to build just a beautiful park, somewhat similar to Palm Desert, that everyone can use in the community? And
yeah, Sean, would you wind it down?
That's it.
Okay. Sean, thank you very much for your comments, and I think your vision is something like our vision is what we're looking for at Silver Rock is just a complete complex that not only takes care of tourism, but takes care of our own citizens too. It's important that we provide 365 days a year amenities to our community for both our citizens and for our visitors.
And I'd also like to raise a point that there are so many other wonderful aspects of this community, such as birding. I don't know if you know this, there's world-class birding. I've turned my property actually into a bird refuge, continued on with what the original owner had done, or the second owner. I've got American kestrels, hawks, eagles in the heart of the cove. And yeah, we've got world-class trails for hiking, for biking, but I haven't heard any discussion about that, and I'd like to possibly raise it.
It's all part of it. Good.
Is there any way we can create a motion to maybe create
This will be coming up, Sean.
All right.
So it'll be coming up in the real near future.
So I would like to get on the record, though, there's 40 acres committed to the community for a park and utilizing sports facilities.
Good.
That's a yes?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
We're gonna, yeah, you bet. Thank you. Okay, that's all the request I have to speak. Anybody else? Okay, with that, we would like to have the developers who is ever responsible. John, you want to come up? If you're the one that's going to be answering the questions?
Depending on what the question is. If it's,
no, okay. But, well, you have 4 others to help you out.
You reserve your right to pass it on.
Yeah.
To whatever they call it when you deflect. But yeah, if it pertains to the project economics, happy to have Graham address some of those things. Jerry Engel is a long-standing resort developer in his own right and could probably help on some of the other questions, but fire away.
Okay. Questions of the applicant?
I thought Lee.
Okay. Lee, go ahead.
Thank you. Now, within your proposal, there's numerous phases within this, and has been mentioned earlier, is there question regarding the financing of these different phases? Are any of these phases dependent upon the sale of any of these, whether they be condo units or residential units?
Well, the short answer is no. There's no, in phase 1, which is the phase that we proposed in our last letter, which includes 2 hotel sites, multiple residential sites, retail areas. The levels of financing are, initial capital for due diligence and entitlement work, which we're obviously able to provide internally, master developer work, which is all the off-site infrastructure, which is money that will be returned over a long period of time, followed by a complete capitalization, including the hotel and residential areas. So those are separate things that aren't, they're not related to the pace of sales. They're internally related to each other, and one is before the other, but it's not, if I'm making sense. They're not related to having to sell product. to get it done. We're big believers in all of our projects and not undercapitalizing these deals going in. That was a big mistake in 2007, 2006 projects. Developers felt like they could come in with a minimum amount of money, sell, and kind of eat what they killed to complete the projects. We can't do that today. We have to make sure we have enough capital to build the project out, because that's what buyers and end users are looking for as well.
That's what we're looking for as well. Thank you. Now, the next question is, I mean, you've heard me talk regarding Silver Rock and the golf and the amount of rounds going on, and I believe it's Phase 5 is when you are looking at building a 9-hole course, or 9 holes?
Yeah, it's become, I mean, today listening, it's apparent there will be more golf needed. I mean, the simple answer is the golf course is maxed out. Any hotel developer, as Robert would tell us, is going to require access to golf, because that's key for shoulder season usage of the hotel. If they're going to book rooms, they have to be able to guarantee golf rounds to those rooms. Right. So, you know, if that's a necessity for the hotel, then it's something that has to be done. John, I don't know if you have anything to add.
You know, it's absolutely that. The phasing is market dependent and not timing dependent. So, and what Graham said about the hotel use is absolutely correct. If there's a need for additional golf capacity, that could get moved up to whatever the point it would be needed. But we would intend to intensively study the existing capacity and need for capacity as hotel rooms come online.
And you would have the financing to bring that up sooner than Phase 5 if need be.
Correct. A major part of our effort since the very beginning has been to develop a plan that meets the city's objectives and our own internal objectives, but is also financeable today. You know, we didn't want to propose a plan that we know will be laughed at the second we take it to a banker or to equity sources. So we've conferred with our equity sources, we've conferred with debt sources, we've conferred with partners like Robert, we've conferred internally, and we've created a plan that we believe is realistic in today's economic climate, not in a expected future better climate.
And we're transacting in resort golf development around the country. So I think we have this is a spectacular site, so probably the best that we've seen in terms of just kind of raw, authentic beauty. But in terms of building golf, building resorts, and building communities, you know, we kind of know what's out there. We're transacting in other markets, and this certainly is a great opportunity.
Well, Jared, let me ask you then, have you guys put a 9-hole course next to an 18 before?
So I've done 13 golf courses in kind of every shape and size, including Dave Pell's short courses, and I like to believe that golf, you know, is a handcrafted solution. You just don't come in and say it's this kind of golf. It really is dependent upon what the community wants. For example, in one golf course we built a Dave Pell's short course, 10-hole short course, in addition to 3 championship courses. That was the right solution for that market. What we were trying to do as a presence and create a golf experience. So for us, it's really about the golf experience and what our partners need and what we think the community needs. So I would have to say, you know, and everybody kind of dodges around golf, but the idea, we're going to need more golf here. What's the right solution? Right. Is it, you know, a fabulous kind of, you know, 3 9s that you can go, I can play A and B and C and C and A, and that solves our golf solution? Is it that plus maybe a short course where we can bring in golf instruction and things like that, and we can incubate the game? We built short courses because we felt that was a way to incubate the game, which we think is really important in today's environment, given the demographics of younger players. To get them into the game, we think short courses, we don't call them executive courses, we call them courses that have all the real shot value in the regular golf course, but done in a way that can approach beginner golfers. So I think when you see our plan and the way we phase it, our answer, Lee, is really to kind of figure out what is the right golf solution here.
Okay. All right. And my last question is, where do you guys see the importance of moving the canal off-site or underground?
You can.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time lying awake at night thinking about the canal, and probably over the last 25 years, a lot of time worrying about a lot of CVWD issues, as we know how important they are in addressing our developments. But we are ready to engage very quickly in the discussion. I mean, very quickly. We've already looked at some planning, and we believe that there is a viable parallel canal solution, and it might be a hybrid. It might not be an underground canal solution, it might not be a parallel canal, but it might be something that is somewhat consistent with the parallel canal alignment, but also has segments of it that might be piped. So we would see a hybrid. We see something as the best value for the property, as well as something that works with the aesthetics. And when we would jump in, we would be shoulder to shoulder with the city in helping redefine what the aesthetics of the canal are and working with the district. And we understand that that typically means there's a cost margin associated with that. Probably could be above and beyond what the district's $5 million commitment to the canal is. So we are not at this point persuaded that we can't take the canal and make it a project amenity. I think from the beginning, we've said that we see the identity of this project grounded in the history of the Coachella Valley and the importance of imported water, and that was sort of spawned the idea of this Riverwalk concept where we're paying homage to, imported water in the canal. I think that we can continue to celebrate that in a way that doesn't necessarily have to look like in a design it looks like today. And it could be a hybrid design that functions very well with the land planning. And we see jumping into that with both feet, because we think that there's, it has to work with a land plan. And we think we've created a concept plan that it does work, but we have a lot of detail that we have to get into. So we're prepared to take that on.
And that's a big one to take on. I mean,
I understand.
You know the water district, and they play by their rules, period.
Yep.
And so, I mean, they have a new general manager, and,
Yep.
and he's got a lot of experience and a lot of respect for the man, but the design of that canal is up to them.
Agreed.
And they've just spent, I believe, $400,000 on the current undergrounding engineering work. So that's a big if.
Yeah,
on
and I
work
think
with the
you're
owner.
making decisions that are going to last forever, so it's
Right.
worth really taking a hard look at it. I understand the district, believe me. I mean, I think I made an example at a previous meeting how the Whitewater Parkway never would have happened in previous management regimes of the water district, but under the management of Steve Robbins, Steve was a very progressive person, and I think he demonstrated that even, as he's gone. And so I think that there are things that can be discussed with the district, and we understand it at the end of the day, it's got to work for him, and that's the utility component of it. But I think there's a way to make the utility component work and push water through down to Lake Cahuilla, and it doesn't have to look like a utilitarian trapezoidal channel. And there may be things, we've noodled some things around with some engineers. There may be ways, maybe we can take a step back and look at the broader mission of the district and what they're doing with Lake Cahuilla as a terminal facility, and we may be able to assist them with some things that are sort of problems that they have along the way now, and how that works as a gravity system in the delivery of water.
Okay.
So.
And Graham, you can assure us you've got financing for the whole project.
We got it covered.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Christy?
Okay, I have a couple of questions. Can you have villas and bungalows and cabanas? How do they differ in terms of?
It's probably, it's hyperbole, but I guess it's an attempt and a conceptual plan where we need to do a lot more work at a higher level of intelligence and scale to design different product types, because the goal is to provide different kinds of products that are going to appeal to a broad band of user at different price points. So those, they might be called something completely different, but I think what we're trying to say is we're providing a diversity of product to appeal to as many tastes and price points as we can. And Jerry, if you can think of a way to say that better.
Well, I think that's right. I mean, it's a lexicon the developer uses, but really it is trying to talk about a ladder of product that are essential to, what we call building blocks of the community. So you can't just kind of come in with one product because, then your community becomes monolithic. So we really believe that having a variety of product, different price points, creates a dynamic in the community that you wouldn't elsewhere, get if you didn't do that. So that's really, why we call them different. It's really think about them as different sizes, and kind of, you know, different solutions for residents.
And I think, you know, since what we said from the beginning is we understand this is a TOT-based project, and a lot of the success of a product as it goes into a leasing pool can be dependent on the design of the product and the architecture, and if it's oriented for and comfortable and friendly for a short-term stay. So that's the intent of the design of this product.
Okay, so these are all TOT oriented.
Yeah, I think that part of what we would engage with the city in the discussion is what the restrictions are on the product and what the expectations are. And we would do that within the 90-day window. We would define meeting your expectations with our expectations as far as what the product is, and that would be fleshed out.
Okay. And we think demographics are in your favor with regards to rental and TOT, you know, generating product. You know, we want to build that product. To John's point, it's just a matter of the specifics as we talk with city staff. You know, what's deed restricted, how's it designed, are there restrictions on how it's designed, who manages the rental program? Those are the key facets. But with everything that's happening in La Quinta, it's just a microcosm of what's happening in all the resort markets we're active in. People want to buy homes and rent them out to generate some revenue, and that's a change from the past generation of second homeowners.
It's I think, a very significant change, and it's across markets, as Graham says.
He needs to come over to the mic.
It's a significant change, and it's a kind of across markets where people really, you know, in the old days, 5-6 years ago, we used to sell appreciation as a rationale for buying. It's all use-oriented product, which I think speaks really well for community and building sustainable communities, because people are buying really for the purpose of using, but they're offsetting that use by rental and I would say fairly sophisticated management programs, so that if they're not getting that idea of appreciation, they're really getting the idea of use and experience. So we're seeing that kind of across the board now, that people want to buy into that kind of a community.
And am I assuming right when I'm assuming that these are not timeshares? Or any of these going to be time? No? Okay. All right.
Sorry, what was that?
Timeshares.
Oh, thank you.
There's another word for it, like another phrase. What's it called? Fractional ownership. There we go.
Yeah.
It's a timeshare. It's a timeshare. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm looking at here is that you're going to end up with between 340 and 400 keys. Is that your plan at the end of the day?
And Robert could address this. We're very excited about a concept that he has brought forward, and he's currently developing, but it's the combination of a luxury hotel with a lifestyle hotel, and the difference is in the price point of the product and the orientation. And you want to say something about it?
Sure. If I may, that's a light, and the microphone is the short one. So just okay. Speak around the short one. Yeah.
Hello. Hello, McFly.
Light up your esophagus.
Yeah, I think what these gentlemen were just saying is very, very important. Let me give you an example. In 2005, we acquired a piece of property in Northern California with the intention of building a 5-star luxury hotel. We designed that hotel at the end of the day to be about 418,000 square feet. It was an enormous project. We've now redesigned that project to be under 200,000 square feet because we have to meet a certain price point. We have to meet sort of the realities of today's financing, et cetera. And as I explained before, we've got a significant residential component that actually augments the hotel. In this case, in La Quinta, you don't find 5-star luxury hotels here in the desert. And the reason for that, in my view, is that every time somebody's tried to build and make a play at building a 5-star luxury hotel, they've thought very big. They've thought about something like the Four Seasons Aviara or the Ritz-Carlton Laguna Niguel or the Montage Laguna Beach. And you can't make that work in this market. So our concept is very simple. We want to have the anchor and the imprimatur, if you will, of a great world-renowned hotel chain like Four Seasons, et cetera, Montage, so that we can develop sort of the anchor of this location. But we don't have to build a huge project. We think we can build somewhere between 75 and 110 units of five-star luxury and sort of create that character of the property. We also believe that there's going to be another whole price point that we'll have to meet, and so our concept is to build what we call a lifestyle hotel. It is a lower price point, still very high quality, but it deals more with nightlife, food and beverage, sort of a scene type of hotel, something that appeals to a younger demographic. But both of those, you can imagine, have very different clientele, and that clientele has very different tastes and desires and price points with respect to the residential product that they'll be attracted to. But if we design that residential product, whatever we call it, whether it's bungalows or villas, then those units will be put into the rental program for each of those different types of hotels. So that's how ultimately we get the room count that we're looking for and generate the TOT.
Okay, thank you.
And what room count did you get to?
I think our program right now is...
Yeah, in the staff report, I think we talked about the lifestyle hotel being 200,
Mm-hmm.
and the luxury, it was anything from 75 to up to 140. There was some excitement that maybe we could do more units initially than we had earlier thought. So
That's what I saw in there. Thank you.
Hey, Christine? Okay. Terry?
Well, we find ourselves back here again. And I think the gentleman that spoke earlier, that spoke first this evening, Mr. Brownstein, said it best. All of the developers that have been presented to us are fine developers and upstanding, and we think probably you can all perform. And the word probably does come in there because in my mind, the only time probably disappears is after a developer is given the opportunity to spend a certain amount of private time with staff and go through all of those particulars that you were talking about and, excuse me, all those particulars that you were talking about and getting down, you know, to the nitty-gritty, what will work and what won't work. Back to the units, though, that you were all just talking about, are there, at the end of the day, are there any pure residential units planned for your project?
I think it's a function of what how the deed is restricted or not, and what the restrictions are and how you define it. I mean, there's product that would, whether it's restricted or not, you're going to convey a fee simple deed.
Okay, all right, and you did hit the nail on the head there, because you may plan on it, but through negotiations you'd find out that we don't want any, and then you could accommodate that by saying, okay, we won't build any. So I guess that's part of the negotiations that would go on.
That's right.
That's the process that we're hoping to engage in.
Right.
Yeah.
And get to, as you said, the nitty-gritty, which I think is exactly what we need to
But
get.
do you envision your product, the necessity of your product having private residential?
I don't think there's anything in our Phase 1 proposal, which is a massive phase, that would be designed to not be rented. I mean, maybe that's the wrong way to say it, but we envision all of that product being associated very closely with the hotel product. If you look at our site plan, there are units that are a long way away from the resort, and I just think those will be, they may be warm beds, but they'll be cooler than the beds which will be right next to the resort. But, you know, how we actually memorialize that in planning is the step that we need to take.
No, and I appreciate that. And I'd like to, John, you've been around here a long time.
I have.
And you've certainly worked with CVWD for many projects.
I have.
And what kind of success do you think you're going to have taking a hybrid plan into them at this point?
I am an eternal optimist. I'm ready to go down there and engage the district in a discussion.
Well, you may be, but I've been here a long time too, and I was in construction, and I tried to talk to them about not having to call at 4 o'clock every day for inspection the next day, and that didn't work.
I think if you look at the end result of going down there and you know, beating your head against the proverbial Lowell Weeks rock that's in the, well, I guess we're going to Palm Desert, not to Coachella anymore, but I think that you look at what is the result of that. The result of that is we're going to find a way to build a solution that works for the district and works with our land plan. And I think we have that now. It's a function of how well it works and what we have to juggle around.
I think it's a credit to John's expertise that from the beginning he knew our planning couldn't assume a solution and so I think he knows that, but he is an internal optimist and wants to go push for the best solution for the property.
Well, and I appreciate that, and when this, as we went through the whole planning process for this project, there were numerous times that we approached the district on being able to use that canal water in some water feature, even diverting off and running through a hotel to have. I mean, we had some wonderful ideas. I mean, they may have been pie in the sky, but they were wonderful ideas, and they didn't get anywhere.
Yeah.
Because this is a very serious project for them. This is a vital need service, and they aren't interested in a little waterfall here and a little waterfall there. They're interested in supplying what they're in business to do.
Yeah, I understand that. And, I've started from the perspective that we're not using any portion of the canal. That's just off the table. It's a function of where the canal goes and how it looks is what we're doing. Anything that we do that is paying homage to the canal or imported water is a private system, and you have rights at Silver Rock as being in Improvement District 1 to take water from the canal and use it for beneficial use on the property, whether it's irrigation. So I think that we're not, from square one, we're not proposing that we're going to use the canal for any purpose. We know that's a non-starter, hands-off with the district, so it's a function of where does it go and what does it look like, and how do we make it work with a good land plan. That's what's on the table.
Okay, well, and I guess I don't have any more questions for you, but I'll say this right now for both of the development parties that are here today. It would be my intention, hopefully at the end of today or the end of this subject, that we would select a party to go to go into negotiations with on business terms for the first phase of Silver Rock. That doesn't mean that at the end of 90 days you're going to be selected, because you may not come out of the 90 days. So while it's important that we absolutely take this next step, that doesn't mean because you got a chance to go into the 90 days that you're coming out in the 90 days.
I don't think there's anybody on this side of the podium that disputes that. We all understand that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Linda?
Lee answered or asked a lot of my questions, and Christy as well. And my understanding is part of the 200 units, whether they're residential or fractional or deed-oriented, it's part of the mixed-use component as well of what we identified as wanting to have that mix of commercial and restaurant, and potentially having livability on those second floors, and it's kind of part of our whole vision of incorporating that. And that's the keep going back over and over and over again component. I think that's an attraction of keeping a steady crowd, so to speak, on the premises that will continue to draw that activity. The lifestyles piece is exciting to me. You're reading more and more about that type of hotel experience that really just lends itself with the trends of wanting to be gathering place oriented, family oriented, multiple activities for every member of the family, and that addresses our request for the intergenerational, and not only what Seth was looking for in his family, but many of us, and as well as marketing to get people here to fall in love with La Quinta. So I don't have any specific questions. I'm comfortable with the information that's been presented so far, and I appreciate the addition of the Robert Greene Company.
Good.
As part of this package.
Thanks, Linda. John, it's my understanding that a decision and development has to start on the canal by next year. And hopefully you're saying if you were selected, you'd be down with CVWD right away trying to provide an alternate solution other than the pipeline that we've talked about.
That's correct.
And you can, within 1 year, be able to provide everything that is necessary to be able to do this?
As far as planning?
Whatever it takes with CVWD.
Well, much less time than that.
Okay, well, we need to know because we've got a drop-dead date, and that's next year.
We understand.
Yeah. Okay. Residential units in that When we purchased Silver Rock, it was for two reasons: to provide future income to the city of La Quinta and provide affordable golf to our citizens in La Quinta that could not afford to belong to our private golf courses and that we have here, and that because it's expensive. We've got a lot of people that play golf out there, over 6,000 members that belong to Silver Rock and that. And as I said, I hope they don't ask for a starting date at the same time, and that, because it won't happen. But everything that you would provide and build at Silver Rock has to provide some sort of income to the city. And you understand this.
We do.
And that, so there's no misunderstanding that we want to build residential houses and all of a sudden they're not paying any type of income to the city. It goes to Riverside County.
No.
Okay. All right, just make sure. We would provide, or we would request and require, actually, some sort of performance bond before you put a shovel in the ground to build a specific phase, and that, does that propose a problem?
Certainly I could address the site infrastructure requirements are going to require bonding for anything we're going to do as far as master site improvements. The vertical construction side, I'm not, you could bond anything.
Yeah. I mean, typically when we build big buildings, we just built an 8.5-story, 64-unit, $70 million project in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. You have to provide a completion guarantee before you move forward. So you negotiate that with the town and providers. So some type of bonding for performance is pretty common. We
understand. I think we've all had problems in the past because of a developer going in or contractor going in, getting a project started, then all of a sudden walk away. And then we're stuck with a half-built facility that is not open and it's sitting there. We have one at the corner of Jefferson and Avenue 52 right now that's been sitting there for years. We just, thankfully, we had granite construction that we got a bridge going in because the original contractor walked away. So we're very careful, and I don't want to get in a position like Rancho Mirage is with the Ritz-Carlton, what they've had to go through. So it's issues like that. I just want to make sure that there's no misunderstanding that we want some sort of guarantee that it ain't going to get partly built and then walk away. So,
and Mr. Mayor, that whole environment has gotten more difficult because of what's happened over the last year. So, but it is, every city, wants to avoid exactly what you're talking about. So again, that's something that we're going to have to figure out the best solution for that. But it's not as easy as it was before.
No.
It's just because there have been defaults.
But it still has to be done.
It still has to be done.
Yeah. And last, John, we've discussed the plans. We sat down and chatted with it, and you've brought a lot of good ideas. And I think one of the things when we're talking about a hotel and that, and we're talking about golf courses and that, and I've said this before, is it's great to market a hotel, and you get somebody from New York or Wisconsin to come out here and stay in the hotel, and you got a beautiful hotel, you got beautiful scenery. But what is the family to do? Say the old man wants to go out and play golf at PJ West and that, and what's the family to do?
His wife plays golf too.
But not all wives play golf and that, and it's so important not only to entice them to come out, but that they have a good time and they want to come back. That's what brings them back, and that is because they've found that they've had a great experience here at Silver Rock, and they can't wait to come back. And if we can't provide the amenities that go into this complex to bring them back. Now, a lot of them are not taking off and going into Palm Springs and things like that, especially if the old man's out playing golf and they've got the wife and a couple of kids there. What are they going to do? We have to provide, and John and I, we've discussed this, you've got to be able to provide the amenities in there that they can have a good time and have a wonderful experience here in the city of La Quinta and at Silver Rock. So it's so important that, and we will deal with this during the discussions and when we go through the project and that. But it just that, you know, you have to understand, and as the Seth has said, and at the corner there, there's certain things that is going to be required, especially by me, to make sure that we provide an all-around beautiful setting for not only the hotel, but for the visitors and the guests that come in here. And it's got to be 365 days out of the year. It can't be something that's just during the season. And amenities that our citizens want to go to. And I'll tell you, they eat out an awful lot in this community.
Well, from the very beginning, what charged us up as community developers was that this is a site that can be inclusive.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
And it's got an authentic location, it's up against the mountains, and if you think about kind of the hallmarks that we're seeing in the tourist industry, and Robert will talk about this, those are all really important things. People want to go to authentic places, right? And have authentic experiences. I was just the other day just over at the old, La Quinta Resort, and they have this little, next to the spa, they have these palm trees in a garden. There were kids playing, around the palm trees.
Sure.
And just throwing frisbee. It was just a flat place, right? So it can be a very simple thing like that, or it can be a very organized thing like that. And the thing that Robert brings to us is a guy who gets up every single day and figures out how to satisfy a client, and how to bring that. And he'll tell you his most important thing is to have that client come back.
Well,
to his
absolutely.
property,
There's
right?
no question about it.
I'd offer one example of the Four Seasons in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. When you think about Jackson Hole, immediately you think about skiing, right? But what most people don't know is that Jackson Hole gets about 400,000 skier visits a year, meaning not 400,000 people, but skier days a year. But in the summertime, Jackson Hole gets about 4 million visitors a year. And that includes fly fishing, river rafting, horseback riding, hot air ballooning, arts and crafts, painting, wine tasting, all kinds of different things. So, pardon me?
Eating at the Cadillac Grill.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I think the reason that we've done so many hotels with very high quality operators is that they really understand that overall experience, and that not everybody's a skier, not everybody's a golfer, and it's more than just putting in a spa or putting in a children's play facility. It comes down to programming. Programming is something that really doesn't just extend to the amenities that you have within your facility. It's trying to figure out how to get people out there into the community, how to get them to enjoy the place. And so a high-quality operator like the ones that we've always dealt with, and what we like about dealing with a new lifestyle concept that's managed by a high-quality operator, is that they understand that level of service and that level of need as well.
Yeah. Jackson Hole, don't mention that, because we couldn't get a room in Jackson Hole. We were in Yellowstone, and we had to drive to Idaho before we could find a place to stay, because they had a fly fishing tournament there.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Well, maybe Robert could help you next time.
No, I was there. Anyways, that's all I had. Thank you, John. Thank you, gentlemen. And
Thank you.
Appreciate your
We've been very
comments.
appreciative of the chance to present some ideas to you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Giving you the opportunity. Come on up.
I'll leave both these alone. That's the drill.
As long as we can hear you.
Good afternoon, Your Honor and honorable council members. You've heard my presentation multiple times, so the last thing I want to do is cover it again or bore you. Are there questions that should launch this, or should I just give you some quick bullet points as a refresher?
If you would like to give the bullet points, and then we'll open it up to council to ask questions.
Okay, that works great. Thank you. Well, after approximately 8 months of 3 developers focusing on how do we accomplish the maximum TOT and put in a product or products that will be successful, I feel I've nailed it. And let me explain what it is again. most important, as we've heard you all say before, what is all this pitching going to come to if someone doesn't have the money? You've heard Mark Brownstein say that's the area of his expertise, besides development, that he's been involved in. We all know money for this kind of destination resort at this location is very limited. I have the good fortune, after 10 years of working on travertine, to have accumulated the right money at the right place at the right time so we all can benefit from those years and work and millions spent aligning my ducks so that this can be accomplished. I'm not putting you in promised land, or if this and that sells, then I can move on to one of my 8 phases. I'm telling you, this has to all be done at once to be successful. I said to you in our very first presentation, if someone isn't about to do this with the right amount of money and vision and the right team behind them, it should not be done now. There's enough keys in the Coachella Valley running at an occupancy rate that no one's ready to write home about because no one's ever brought in the right experience for a family, and I said initially, like a cruise ship mentality, and you've just got through saying it. They have to be entertained from morning till night with nothing but amenities that will draw them back, having the best vacation experience of their life. That's what I'm bringing to the table. Once I got really focused over the pros and cons of residential, the pros and cons of fractional, there's enough of all that, and it's not working. It's a different world the last 5 years. And nobody has the tea leaves to say what's going to happen. So why not play it smart, safe, get it done on something that there's a void in this market? A fine hotel experience offering everything. So having said that, let me kind of run through. So I'm back to the right vision and the money behind it. The money now, not promised land. If this sells, then I'll go to another phase. I sent you a letter. You've all read the letter. It makes it perfectly clear that immediately you're seeing the first tranche go in. It'll all be verifiable for the entire $612 million budget I have. We're not looking for loans. And I pointed out if we ever decide to get a loan, it would not be a lender at risk. Our assets would underscore it. So there's nothing at risk. Let me go back to the points. 600 keys. You have a 6-page letter that spelled it all out. I'm just going to give you the bullet points so it's not boring. 600 keys in this first phase. If, after Bruce Bolton at PKF and the selection I now have at my fingertips, because you now have letters from Mandarin Oriental, Auberge, de Soleil. Hold on. I got such a great reaction. Yeah, once I was told my competitors could walk in with a flag, what do you have? And I've been saying all along, Starwood wants to be here. And then they said, well, where's the Starwood letter? They don't write letters. They want to know that I'm in escrow. When I told them I need a letter, they got the letter to you. You've all seen the Starwood letter. Okay, so it's Orient Express, MGM Bellagio. I have relationships there, and because the issue has always been, how do you keep the place packed all year round? Well, I thought, let's explore, let me have my options to go to a Bellagio type, MGM, Grand, the mansions, with their reservation system, worldwide, the place to stay in Vegas. They know how to entertain families all summer long. When it's hotter there than it is here, you can't get a room. So that was my thinking. So I've got them. Mandarin Oriental, I have a letter from Fairmont. I didn't send it in. My discussion with Four Seasons, which has taken place in the last few days, is basically, Brian, the minute we set foot on the land, then we'd be in a position to go to the next step with you. At the moment, we love your vision. We want to be a part of it. Sounds like everything you're coming up with makes sense at this time because, and this is with all of them, and even Rosewood, whose letter you now have, because you have the money to put the golf course in for in the $25 million range. You've got the $10 million for the clubhouse to go first class. You've got the vision for multiple flags, 2, 3, depending on, now that I've got a choice, I've got a buffet here for all of us to brainstorm and see who we want. Who would be the best fit for these flags? We have time. But the point is, you need different price points for different audience to play it safe. But you've got to have a lot of keys, because to spend the money of the infrastructure, and I offered the $9 million, let's do the canal right, per the engineers' professionals' specs, so it doesn't become a nightmare later. I've offered it, it's on the table. Basically what I saw was the city was supposed to be involved for 8 point something. I rounded it off to 9 and said, good, I'm in for 9 because I don't want problems or litigation over an open canal that's sinking at this point 3 feet plus. So we're all on the same page there, I believe. So now what are these 3 flags? So that we have something for everybody and we have something different. There's plenty of hotels, keys in the valley. We have to have something special in each component. I use the word wellness, health, use as an example, Miraval, Canyon Ranch, Golden Door. That amount of keys, about 100, more to our southern tip, away from the atmosphere of the potential 1 or 2 key Bellagio or Four Seasons or Auberge du Soleil, with different price points and components, because it's all in pavilions and villas. There's no elevator to take upstairs and go to your room. Everything is done like we know is the right way to do it, the way La Quinta Resort and Club has been doing it for 80 years, the way Donald Bren just did it in Pelican Hill. Whoop. Excuse me. And 2 weeks ago, Forbes gave him a 5-star rating. It was #1 in the United States as a destination resort for families, meaning golf and camps for kids. 25th in the world. He just opened up a few years ago, but he did it right. He did it right. He copied Bel Air Hotel and all its bungalows, and Bel Air and Beverly Hills Hotel. He copied La Quinta Resort and Club. It's the way people want a vacation today, but they want good service. That's the audience. We all know the statistics. Umpteen millions of baby boomers turning 65 every day. It's all staggering. But if it's not going to be special and first class, it'll be just another nice hotel in the valley, which will not do well. And do something in so many phases, but there's so much vacant ground and so much construction going on every time you come for the phase that's built that you read an ad and you came, and now there's all these other phases going on. It's not the right way to do it. It's going to become, in my opinion, an inappropriate second choice way of developing 283 acres. It has to all be done at once with the canal, with the first. You saw the letter I got from Clive Clark, who has a relationship now with Jack Nicklaus, where they team up for special situations, and I think this is appropriate because we want that. Take your choice. Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, and Clive Clark, who does drop-dead beautiful courses like Fazio type, so it's a walk in the park.
He lives in La Quinta.
He's at the Citrus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Clive.
He's anxious to play golf, by the way.
Excellent.
So in terms of Turner Construction, the best in golf, the best in flags, forget all the sizzle. The substance is, we have the money. Oh, I'm being clued. The performance bond, but you've read that for me 3 times already. Yes, the complete performance bond for everything. You've got Turner Construction, their timeline, 24 months, and they're out. Okay, let me jump back to the basics. The 600 keys in one phase, or if PKF, Bruce Bolton, say, along with my chosen flags, Brian, do 400, do 450. Wait till the need arises to do the last 150 or 200. That's easy. The 60,000 square foot spa, the 5-star would be like 100, 150 keys. The 4-star plus plus, family, with all the bells and whistles you saw. Wave machine, nightclubs for every age, activities all day long for every age.
Let's ask questions.
Okay, you know my bullet points, so go for questions.
Okay, good. Well, you'd like to ask questions? Terry?
Yeah, I would. This is what I heard. You're prepared to go full bore on the entire project with the way I would think there would be some sort of market studies to prove that the market is ready to accommodate the number of keys. I'm not hearing that. You're prepared to just go build these hotels, and all of these hotel operators are going to come along with you to build their site now at the same time. So presumably one day, 3 years from now, we all put a key in a door someplace and we open all 2,000 or 1,000 hotel rooms at the same time.
600.
Okay, 600.
You're asking, did I say that?
I'm telling you, that's what I heard.
You heard correctly. It's not subject to anything else.
Okay.
What I merely stated was PKF, Bruce Bolton, he's the go-to man. He did the feasibility study for you years ago.
Okay, I got you.
And he's recently, because of the nature of their business, they keep it up to date. And because Rosewood was requested by a New York developer regarding the Highway 74, near El Paseo, to update it, and I'll share with you, when I told Starwood that they need to change their bureaucracy for me, that it's important I have a Starwood letter. They said, well, Brian, you're not in escrow. We haven't had a chance. We love everything it sounds like you're doing. I said, why don't you talk to Bruce? He does all your work. We did a conference call. Bruce told Starwood's people, it was like I gave him a script, but I didn't. He said there's a void in the market. Rosewood is considered going in on El Paseo, but I had learned from Rosewood that's in the paper, but they're totally receptive to being here with golf and everything done first class, not being a small hotel with some condo sales that may never work off of El Paseo. Bruce proceeded to lay it on heavy. His studies are up to date, and his instincts and knowledge, and they start saying, well, what kind of ADR at Marriott? What kind of ADR at this one? What percentage occupancy over 12 months? He threw them every figure, and they went, okay, Brian, we've heard enough. Where do we send the letter? I said, you've got my email. So I'm telling you, the professionals believe in the vision.
Okay.
And their knowledge of it.
Next question.
Okay.
What benchmark do you have to reach for a second tranche?
Second tranche?
Yeah.
It'll be happening continually. I can read you from the letter.
I have the letter.
Okay, well, 100 million you saw was going in.
Right.
And that was, as discussed, this should be sufficient to complete the property acquisition and the first year's construction expenditures. So the next 12 months, easy. He goes on to say that all the funding of all the costs to complete the entire development will be confirmed. So based on the assets, as the tranche is needed, it will flow in. Eventually, we know it'll be $600 million. And that's all, and it's written here clearly, all verifiable. So, you know, it's there.
Okay, so it clearly says in here, if you will need to have a third-party verification of the funding, and I would suggest to you that we would need to have a third-party verification, which would be us.
That's what he's referring to.
Yeah.
That's what he's referring to.
So, I mean, that's absolutely tantamount. And that's probably tantamount first. Like within the first 5 days of a 90-day period of discussions.
Absolutely. Frank has had the letter for 7 months that opened the door for this.
No, not necessarily. It depends on whether it's weekends included. So you'd anticipate having $100 million in the next couple of days?
Correct. I spoke to him in Europe, and I said, here's what I'm up against. I'm hearing sizzle, not substance. I have to have the substance.
All right. Well, and at the last meeting, you clearly heard that we wanted some sort of indication or verification or inquiry as to a flag facility coming on board at either of the 3 developers' projects. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt, you supplied that.
Oh, thank you.
So you actually went away and did exactly what one of the things that you were asked to do.
Sure. Yes.
So, and your master plan of moving full boat ahead is kind of frightening.
Which part?
Moving full bore ahead and opening 600 rooms on the same day 3 years from now.
But it's 3 separate components, and it might just be 400 keys if they say, do 200 2 years later if the demand is there.
Okay,
So
who
I'm going on
says
record.
that?
We don't have to have 600 keys on day 1 if that makes you concerned.
Okay.
But I'm saying, just like the canal, let the experts tell us so it's bulletproof.
Right.
Let the experts tell us it should be 450, not 600. It should be 500.
Well, I'll go back to the very first day that you were here, Brian, and you stood up there, and when you were done, I said, wow, if you remember. And it was exciting and interesting and lively to hear your presentation.
Thank you.
The only thing that's changed over the last several interviews is the fact that you've come up with supporting documents or supporting letters. There still needs to be a level of verification on all of that, which I presume, and I'll repeat what I told Meriwether to you, whoever is selected tonight, whoever I select tonight, if I'm part of the majority, is a person that is going to enter into some negotiations with city staff. And it's only the end product that will tell me whether or not you'll be the selected developer.
Understood?
Okay, thank you.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Sure. Have all of the 6, I guess there's 6, are Orient Express and Mandarin Oriental 2 different entities?
2 different.
2 different entities. So it looks like you've got 6 entities that are flags. Have they all seen the design?
Oh, for sure.
So how do you tell 5 of them no? And how do you know which one to choose? If we said yes to you tonight.
In my very first presentation, I told you I grew up in the hotel business.
But you gave us 6 choices. Who do you think is best for this project?
To me, it's a marriage. You know, here sits 44 years without a problem, and I'm going to pick who I'm going to go the next 44 years with who's going to be family to me, running the flags as a marriage. I've got good instincts.
So out of the 6, who would you choose?
It's a case of step by step. It's, you know.
But we're building 600 hotel rooms all at once. We're doing it all right now. So
or I said 400.
Okay.
And the point is there's separate entities. If I have a choice, it might be Miraval over Canyon Ranch. If I have a chance of Four Seasons over Bellagio, it's who. I built the largest real estate company on the west side of Los Angeles between 62 and 82. I sold it to Merrill Lynch. I know about working and being a chairman of a board of a company associated with bureaucrats that can't connect the dots. I'm going to see who connects the dots best with my vision and my money to make sure this project is run properly. It's premature, Linda, for me to say this is my favorite. I have got the Rolls Royce of flags expressing interest, wanting to meet me at the site once I'm appointed. All the letters say that in different ways,
right,
and all at different levels of enthusiasm, but these are professionals who look for new venues. You've got Starwood doing 30 hotels offshore right now, the way things have exploded in India and China. You've got MGM, non-gaming, hospitality, 23 new sites in those same similar countries where things are exploding. They all know there's nothing like it in the Coachella Valley.
Okay, I have another question. And going back to the canal component, I appreciate the fact that you're willing to make available $9 million to answer whatever question we have of parallel or underground. But you have an opinion on what the preference would be if you were awarded the developer role and started these 90-day discussions of terms to potentially get to a contract, of what direction we should take on the canal based on your assessment.
Okay, I wrote in my memo that based on what little I know about it, to do another canal like the canal that's there that sunk 3 feet as one suggestion and save us some millions, I see as a Band-Aid approach. I think the money I'd be spending, mitigating it, landscaping it away, fencing it away, dealing with people whose children crawled over and hurt themselves. Let's do it right. I have the money. I'm protecting my own rear because of the $100 million in infrastructure that's going in around there, not to have something that's sinking in 10 years and then disrupt the entire development. So it seems to me if the engineers say, if you've got the money, the smart way is to go around and get it out of here underground, I'm for that. But that, I think it's just common sense.
What do you think the time frame would be in terms of determining the marriage between one of these 6 folks, if we're hoping to provide direction to staff to reach business terms within 90 days? Hopefully those business terms would be contingent upon having a flag.
Pardon?
The business terms would be contingent to have a solid flag versus 6 interested flags.
The answer would be that with my personality, no grass grows under my feet, so if I'm appointed tonight, tomorrow morning I've got 6 people waiting to make plans to meet me, see the site, and go into the next steps. So I could know in 3 weeks, maybe, between everybody's travel schedule, who I feel the right marriage could be there. Does that sound fair?
Yep. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Lee?
I've answered all my questions already.
Thanks.
Okay, Christie?
Well, I just have a couple. Brian, you've got single-family detached homes.
Not me.
Well, it's on your legend here, number 7, single-family detached home. Huh? Right here. All these, you have a single-family detached home on your legend. Right there, single-family detached home.
Let me explain.
Oh, that was on the dog bone.
Yeah.
That was for the hotel operator and...
That's not what's on here. 7 is right here. It's not the dog bone.
For clarity for all of you, Because this has evolved, originally there was a component of detached homes. When I went back and made the changes and took it from a 3-4-story hotel down, after I had been informed by departments here, the city wanted to have close to 1,000 keys. Once we knew that was off the table and everybody readjusted for this world, what would be the safest way to go today, I went back and readjusted. My architecture firm, JZMK, who did all the conceptuals, they made those changes, but they didn't change every little summary on the lower right-hand corner. So my point is, disregard a summary made 7 months ago. Only go by my letters where I said, here's the update, here's only what I'm working on. And I kept saying, no fractional, no residential. So please, disregard old summaries. Just go by my last letter to Frank and Les, saying, in these 6 pages, here's exactly where we stand today.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Brian, you haven't done anything in the Valley development.
Just been a second home since the 40s.
Well,
no development.
But you haven't developed anything in the Valley.
No, but because of my last 12 years with Travertine and involvement with CVWD and Army Corps of Engineers and City of La Quinta and Mike Perrone, et cetera, I don't feel this is anything foreign for me.
Okay, but physically you haven't done anything?
No, I cannot drive you to my last development.
Now, you said you developed something in Los Angeles?
Well, yes, I developed what I'm proud to say is a world-renowned residential enclave called Beverly Park.
Beverly Park, okay.
I read in the notes that someone said it's relatively known. If anybody had Googled, they would have seen, I'm not patting myself on the back, but since we're trying to make an impression here today, it's not a nice development. It's the #1 development in the world for high-end residential.
Okay, so it's residential.
That's correct.
But nothing in regards to hotels, golf courses, things like that?
My last project is a condominium project in Beverly Hills on Doheny.
Yeah. Okay.
That I recently
So this
finished.
would be kind of a new experience?
In ways, yes. I've been with my father as he's built golf courses. I've been with my father as he built hotels.
And building a golf course, 2 different things.
Correct, but that's why I would have a Turner and put my team together quickly so that it's the best of everybody in every skill set.
Well, if you were dealing with Clive Clark, I know you'd deal with an expert in golf courses. And
yes,
there's no question about that.
And we had a wonderful rapport, so I know it's going to be absolutely unique.
One thing I noticed, I didn't see a critical path in what you've done here.
It's been sent multiple times.
Off the cuff and that, how many years do you think it would take to complete the project?
Sure, and the timeline did go in many months ago when someone brought it up, so it just missed your email. Having said that, Turner has said and shows on the chart, and I gave it to Les and Frank again a couple days ago because I thought maybe it slipped through the cracks. 24 months from the time we break ground, they'll be finished. They did it in 22 months at Terranea when Lowe didn't wind up following through here.
What will Turner be finished doing?
Everything. Handing me the key to the 400 keys.
Okay.
Well,
every villa, every pavilion, the golf course will be done even sooner.
Okay.
So it's a chance.
Yeah, but you know, you're talking about things, and I like the comment on here, Black Box Theater, because that's something that we do not have in La Quinta, and that's a theater, and something that we desperately need in that. And a black box theater, if you know what it is, and I know what it is, and that fits a lot of multitude of entertainment, both performing arts, movies, things like that. So it's a multi-use type of facility, and I would love to see it at Silver Rock and that, because it would bring people in, and that's for sure, even during the summer months.
No, and we agree. But just to jump back to the bullet points that you're bringing up a new subject. A part of my master plan, as you saw on the latest site plan, is on the lake a 50,000 square foot restaurant retail component that will have something that entertains inclusively everybody in the Coachella Valley, night and day.
Okay, so getting back to the critical path.
Yes.
What's the bottom line? How long before it would be completely everything?
Between engineering...
I saw the critical path by Meriwether, and that they have it in here, but I didn't see anything from you. What is your intent?
My wish list is that in 1 year we're breaking ground. I can get everything designed, engineered, permitted.
Can you give me a year?
Yes, then 24 months later. So that makes it...
You think you can get all this done in 24 months after you get your permits?
Yes, if it takes a year, so we're 36 months out and you'll be at the opening. What could be simpler? I'm not getting any younger. Why would I wait?
Well, I'm not worried. I just don't believe it. I can't see where everything that we've got on here, all the infrastructure and everything that needs to be done, can be done in 24 months.
Well, if Turner just did it for Lowe's at Terranea with a huge hotel and big convention center.
And golf courses and everything else?
Everything else, and gorgeous villas. It all gets done in 24 months. In fact, they told me that there was going to be a penalty if they went beyond 24 months, and they did it in 22.
You mean they had a bonus penalty clause in there?
No, if they didn't perform on time, they would be penalized. So they brought down so many people, and I mentioned it in one of my letters, that they're guessing there could be 1,000 to 1,500 workmen here doing this.
I was going to say, I'm not sure Jefferson Street can take it.
Well, but the truth is, on a lot of major construction sites, you can get a heck of a lot done if you aren't having to consider
it's just so much when you're dealing with waterways and things like that take time, and you just don't do it. And you start to pour concrete in the summer months and that, and see what kind of problems you get into.
Okay, well, I'm just repeating what the professionals told me.
Okay.
If we want to play devil's advocate as a team, then add 6 months,
I wonder
4
if
months.
Vegas will take some odds on that.
Well, I'm happy if I'm appointed to immediately have a meeting with you and the Turner top guys who oversee these jobs, and they know the site. They laid it out with you. They know exactly, based on this topography and this setting, they can get it out of here in 24 months. I have no reason to doubt them. But if you want to play devil's advocate, let's say it's another few months.
Okay.
Okay.
And as far as the other possible slowdowns, I think everybody in the city wants to see me get it in as fast as possible, have TOT coming in as fast as possible, so there won't be any delays. Won't be any delays at your end.
The faster we get it in, the better off we are. There's no question about it.
Okay.
I just, hard for me to believe, having been involved in the construction business for many years.
Remember, there's no high-rise hotel coming up. This is just like building little villas, except for the lobbies.
All you'd have to do is find one Indian bone out there, and they'd stop the project real quickly, and you'd be stopped for 6-8 months.
Don't give Frank a heart attack, please.
He's not going to find any Indian bones.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your patience.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, I appreciate both groups and what they've done to go out and seek additional information that we requested. You know, I'm going to just go with my gut feeling and my preference in terms of my prior expression, because that hasn't changed. But I'd like to direct staff, make a motion to direct staff to begin the 90-day courtship with Meriwether Robert Greene Company, to definitely include a condition that by the end of this courtship, we've got a flag and financing secured before we enter into any type of agreement as staff develops business terms with Meriwether Robert Greene.
Further discussion?
I have no discussion on the motion. So.
I've got from a discussion, if I could. Well, I think a huge part of this whole thing with the Meriwether Group is bringing in Robert Greene and his experience in the hotel development in today's world. I mean, we've seen it change quite a bit over the last 10 years, and I appreciate Meriwether bringing Mr. Greene on board to help them through this process, and hopefully he's through within this process from beginning to end. I'm glad to see him on board with that group.
Okay. Further comments?
No.
No? Okay. Then I'll, there's a motion on board, so please vote.
My button won't push.
Okay. You do it again?
No, it doesn't pop out. It does, so it's not going to pop in.
No, it's busted.
Voice vote?
Yes, I'm voting no on the motion.
Councilmember Evans?
I vote yes, since I made the motion.
Councilmember Franklin?
I believe I seconded the motion, so it's a yes.
Okay. Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Henderson?
No.
Mayor Adolph?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, motion passes. All right.
Well, I'd just like to comment that I just don't see how the 90 days to prove up what Brian has brought forward and his financial commitment to this project would have hurt anything. Now, if he didn't prove it up, then we move on. I'm very disappointed that we've gone this far and did not even allow for that opportunity.
Okay. All right. We'll move on now to our reports and informational items. Christy, you want to start us off?
Yes. I had a Mountains Conservancy meeting, and the whole gist of that meeting was to actually interview a new executive director, and the interview committee had picked a gentleman whose name is Jim Karpiak, and he is an attorney from the Bay Area who owns a residence here, I believe in Palm Springs, actually. Anyway, that was basically the gist of the whole meeting. One of the reasons that the search committee had for picking this person, because he doesn't have a whole lot of experience in, other than being a hiker, and was we're going to have to do some fundraising, given that our funds are depleting, and they felt that he would be the best to be able to do that, and he can pick up the rest of it. Okay, and that was it. We have a CVAP meeting in the morning at the iHub.
Yes, we got a trek.
Yeah, we did.
And I'm trekking back for the homeless people.
Yeah, good. Lee?
I don't have anything. I've got, the homelessness meeting is tomorrow, but I will be out of town, so Linda is so gracious to take that for me. But I do want to let you know that I did send an email to Chairwoman Lupe Ramos-Rodson regarding the homelessness committee and giving us some information regarding East Valley facilities, including Martha's Village and Seaview Rescue Mission. You know, I mentioned to Lupe that this homelessness committee was not created for Roy's, so we'd appreciate some information and some update on East Valley. So, yes.
I'll reiterate it tomorrow on his behalf.
So, but
I think she's been told that before.
At the next meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Terry?
I just wanted to bring on reporting on public safety, and one of the things that we talked about, and I believe you all received this from the sheriff.
Yeah.
Yes, we all got one, and I'm only drawing it to your attention because we had quite a discussion about that. And other than my going through my discussion with you, I'm going to assume that you've all read it, so you don't need to know what we talked about. Then moving on to the transportation, I gave a report at last time on the League of California Cities. I will pass out a updated
Legislative?
No, this isn't the legislative. This is the multi-year advocacy strategies that you have seen before, but the last time was with the request for any input that you wanted to make to get the thought to me or email it to them. And this now includes comments that have come from the general public, and this will go, or not the general public, but the public membership, and this will go to the board meeting next week for the board approval. So I know you've kind of been following that one, so I thought I would bring you up to date on it. And then referencing a letter that Frank wrote on behalf of the city in opposition to SB 7, which was the charter city prevailing wage issue. It was placed in suspense, but it's supposed to be taken out of suspense in May. So it was temporary, but the DOF had concerns. So I'm not quite sure if this is serious enough that we could, intervene in somehow. Not intervene, but support or oppose whatever their issue was. I don't know what it was. I didn't get that information. Also, the League of California Cities, let me catch up with myself. Some of the proposed legislation that we undertook examination of at the League, at the Revenue and Taxation meeting was, there was one, I think I reported somewhat to you, 1, 2, 3, there were 4 pieces of legislation coming from John Chang. And it appears that he took all the rookie assembly members and got each of them to carry a piece of legislation. Revenue and Tax opposed all of those. We did have quite some discussions on them because we don't want to make enemies out of new assembly people right away. So we directed staff
a little bit later on.
Yeah, we directed staff to meet with them or their staff and explain what part of the legislation we thought had some validity and how we could work together to fashion something that might, cover it all. Other than the AB 1235 that came out of Assemblyman Gordon, well, this is where it was going to require members of local agency governing boards to receive training in financial management. None of them up there received, just us down here. Us. Yeah.
Well, we need it.
Yeah.
How to keep everything up.
Well, anyway, the committee opposed that. And then the division did vote, the executive board of the division voted to support Senator Roth's SB 56, which is a continuing legislation to help the annexation and the incorporation of new cities. They're going back at it, not to get the VLF money that the governor took, but it would be some portion of property tax so that they can continue to exist, and we voted to support that. At RCTC, we voted on some JARG funding, and that will bring some $595,000 back to the Coachella Valley for a variety of things. And some of it actually was even going to go to Roy's for bus transportation.
What's JARG funding?
Okay, got to find JARG here. Jobs Access Reverse Commute. JARC, and it comes from the New Freedom Grant Funds, and they're specialized transit funds to meet service needs for persons with disabilities, low income, and seniors.
Well, I'm sure our new assistant to the city manager knows all about that. Or will.
Anyway, it's not coming to the city, but but it'll go through CVAG, and it'll go out to some of the new bus lines down for North Shore.
Sure.
And Mecca, some of it will go there.
On the railroad, maybe. I mean, you know, if you're taking money out.
But no, only for seniors or the disabled.
Oh, okay, I got you. All right. Short bus, I don't know.
Let me move on.
Funding for that short bus.
See, Linda, you messed me up.
Transportation is much.
Yeah. Okay. Looks like I did it all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Linda?
Okay, just a couple of items. Our chamber meets next month. CVAG Conservation Commission. There was a proposal that was rejected again after last April was also rejected to use the Bighorn Institute for our sheep monitoring. Right. It was returned to the commission at one individual's request, and so staff kind of worked through that process as they should at that direction, yet it was rejected unanimously, basically. So we are going to go out for an RFP, which we should have done before, for Bighorn sheep monitoring and not use BI for multiple reasons. On the energy environmental, I'll have you know that we are in the process of reviewing our goals and objectives. And in the spirit of anti-Agenda 21 and La Quinta's general plan of our own guiding principles of what we see as our vision, I made some recommendations for some language changes, because one of the key goals, and it said the purpose of the committee was to foster cultural change regarding the use of energy. That doesn't sound like choices to me. That sounds a little brainwashy. So I'm going to be working with Katie on a few things to lessen the blow that... Al Gore-ish. It's very Al Gore-ish in Lee's words. Yes. So that's happening in E&E at this point. And then as far as the Convention Visitors Bureau, we've got a meeting at the end of the month and probably another special meeting that's happening. I know that Scott's talked to many of you. I'm not sure if he's been able to get to all of you yet, but every year the CVB goes to Riverside County to renew its its bid. It's it's bid, and it's kind of an automatic. It's not controversial, but in an effort to source additional revenues for the CVB to engage in specific marketing efforts for the higher end tourism consumer, because most of our dollars are spent on the convention group type sales. He's created and is campaigning for, so to speak, and it's really, again, a county decision. It's called a T-bid. It's a tourism bid, same type of thing. And right now, only the big hoteliers, 50 rooms or more, actually are part of the bid at 3%. And the smaller and/or vacation rentals and/or our little short terms are not part of any kind of bid. So this would include all of the small operators as well at a 1 to 1.5%, depending on what we can get approved.
So the other one would go up?
The big hotels have already agreed to go up one, and the little hotels will be coming on board.
Okay, yes. So where will the hotels be then? Is it a 2% or a 3%?
It's 2, I think they're 2 now, and we'll go to 3.
3%.
Yes, and then it would go from 0 to either 1 or 1.5 on the small. There's a... Pardon?
The Desert Sun didn't like that idea.
Well, the little small hotels
the small hotels didn't like it.
No, I heard Tim tell us.
Yeah, the change would be there's a partnership fee to participate in any of the marketing activities under the entire CVB, and that partnership fee would be waived, and that's something the actual small and large hoteliers pay. So we would actually be removing a cost that's associated with what they have to do to participate in the benefit of getting all of the marketing, yet the T-bid or bid dollars are actually coming from the consumer. So the small hoteliers are concerned that they may not be able to sell, but we're providing more marketing options to actually promote the valley as a whole. So it will be going to the county in May, to the Board of Supervisors. And hopefully that will generate more revenue, so they're not coming back to us in terms of either bigger partnership dollars, marketing dollars, or, bid dollars. So that's CVB. That's all I have.
Okay. I had no meetings so far, but I would like to thank Christy because she's going to fill in for me at Sunline and CVAG, and that got it down there, and that I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to department reports. City Manager?
The only thing I would, well, first, we don't have a report, but verbally I'd like to add that I met with some of the city managers, or the city manager of Coachella and Indio, and there's discussion afoot to put together a group of the East Valley cities as a coalition again to discuss issues that are germane to this part of the valley. So you may be getting contacted by your fellow council members and our adjoining communities to start that discussion.
Very good.
Okay. City Attorney?
I have no report other than to remind you that at the next council meeting, Bill Urke will be sitting here, my partner, who is looking forward to being here. So.
Okay. Thanks. City Clerk?
Nothing additional.
Nothing. Department reports. I do have a request to speak on an issue. It's the update on the city's golf cart program. Dick Storbo?
He says, oh my God, you actually got there.
It takes us a while to get through.
You got to give me credit for hanging in there.
Yes, sir. You get an A+.
Dick Storbo, I live at 52060 Avenida Ramirez, and I spoke here before about the golf cart program and my desire to try to convince you to allow 4-seat golf carts. My main issue is really why the city of La Quinta can't follow the lead of Palm Desert, which apparently has a program that allows 4-seat golf carts, and they have the authority to do that based on Assembly Bill 110 and Assembly Bill 129. This is in their municipal code. And I looked those up, and 1229 was a pilot program that allowed them to put together their first golf cart and transportation program. And then that was only a 5-year program. But the Assembly Bill 110 says that the state is repealing that provision, and then this was applied to Palm Desert and Roseville, and then it was replaced with essentially identical provisions which apply to cities and counties statewide. So that tells me that you have the authority to follow their lead, regardless of the vehicle code that says that golf carts can only be 2-seaters and are limited to 15 miles an hour, which even your current code says 25. So I'm just throwing it out there that there is precedent for this. I think I'm not alone in having a golf cart with 4 seats and the desire to try to get it permitted by the city. And, I don't want to, be doing this illegally, and hopefully I won't have to tear my 2 seats out of the back of my cart.
I find it interesting because I know there where I play golf and that there's a lot of the members have 4 seats in their golf carts and that, and I'm thinking in terms of if they wanted to play, say, Silver Rock, take the golf cart over there and that, and while they're there, if they wanted to go in town, I wonder how many would realize that you're not supposed to have 4 seats in that, and is it a safety problem? 4 seats, you have everything else. You have seat belts and everything else that goes with it.
I even have seat belts on the back
why
seats.
Would 4 seats be more dangerous than 2 seats? I don't know. And
it seems to me that it's an arbitrary,
Could we have staff take a look at it and bring it back to us and let us take a look at it?
Yes, we will. This is new information. We've been basically following the vehicle code. If there's a carve-out exception, then we will look into that.
But if the code says, you know.
Yeah, just when we look at all we want to do at the Village, Old Town, Silver Rock, we want people going places, and if that means families and kids strapped to the back. I support looking at AB 110.
Yeah.
While the old man's playing golf, the kids and the wife have to roll around in the golf cart and shop.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Looking at AB 110 and exploring that further, definitely.
Okay.
I was content seeing that we had a motor vehicle code, but if there's a carve-out and an exception to make it more viable for us, then
Dick, we'll have
buck
it
the
brought
system.
back and let us take a look at it, and we'll make a decision on it and see if we can add the second row of seats.
okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Department, Les?
I don't know if you want the two rural reports that are identified in the agenda or not tonight. I'm certainly prepared to provide rural reports on both cow biomass as well as the Golden Voice concerts, but that's at...
We've seen what biomass is going through now, that's for sure, with the information that we've been getting, and all of a sudden getting emails on the issue, and then what is stated and what's happening in Riverside with our supervisors. Yeah.
Yes. It's my understanding that a week from today, they'll be considering that matter again. If it were to be favorable to allow for relief from the tipping fees at the Oasis landfill, they're prepared to start within 5 to 7 days thereafter. So if everything goes well, it's my understanding that the county efforts with solid waste and everybody involved, environmental health, has set this up to where if it's a favorable position, they would be moving very, very quickly with Mr. Hardy to remediate that matter.
$700,000 of tipping fees?
That's what I read, yes.
That's what it said in the paper.
I mean, I've got clients that work in refuge, and $700,000 is a heck of a lot of tipping fees. I mean, that's a lot of product.
Yeah, the only thing I could conclude is
that's out there, and it's tonnage is what they go by.
I think it's exactly I think they're assessing a fee.
When it goes in and weigh it when it comes in.
What's the estimated volume of product then if they're looking at 700,000?
Boy, I'm not probably the best one to ask that. It's a tremendous.
That's tremendous.
It's 3/4 of their material on site.
Wow.
So it's
a lot. Wow.
That is a heck of a lot.
Okay. And everything went relatively well with Golden Voice.
In case you didn't notice, we did have a small concert venue over the weekend.
Yes, we did.
It did. It was in the 3 years that I've been involved in this effort, it probably was the most well-ran weekend that I've experienced on a variety of fronts. They had a record number of ticketed folks on the festival grounds on Saturday, the most ever so far, and yet from my observations on the outside, helping in a variety of different areas, it flowed very, very well. The traffic flow, at least within our community on our streets, obviously taking into account that there is certainly backups on Avenue 50 east of Jefferson, and Madison has closures as well that occur, but on the main streets, on Jefferson, even Avenue 52, which last year saw quite a bit of congestion during the day use inflow, flowed very well. There was very limited interruptions or disruption to our streets and our community. We had a couple of events that were permitted events in our community that were parties, if you will, one at Lake La Quinta Inn, and another one at the Merv Griffin Estate. Both went very, very well. There was some great press on both of those that I think is nice to see, especially when those events go well. All too often it's negative press, but we actually got very positive press. One was even in the LA Times, I believe on Monday, with regards to the H&M party that Bounce AEG did at the Merv Griffin Estate. So some of the conditions of approval we're imposing on these events, we're hoping that's making a difference and that they're going to behave and have very successful events, and we get hopefully some great press out of that as well. So 2 more weekends. We're hoping they'll go as well as this last weekend did. Certainly, we have had some resident concerns raised with regards to noise. And there's one in particular I want to look at with regards to buses queuing up at the La Quinta Resort on Eisenhower. So we'll be checking on that this weekend and see what we can do to hopefully address that.
Well, I got to say that the traffic component, I mean, there's a lot of comments all over Facebook about how much better it was this year, how easy it's been to navigate. Obviously, a lot more buses, a lot less foot traffic of people just wandering the streets to get to the venue, and very favorable.
Joe across the street wasn't very happy.
No, that's right.
Well,
you saw that.
Yeah.
But he's not happy about anything.
Yeah,
so.
it's hard to please Joe.
Les, I will have to admit that once you got in the roundabout, you were okay, but to try and get in it, I tell you, it was a challenge, to say the least. And the good news is I stopped after I left you Monday morning and I had to get gas, and I went up to the Shell station, and I had to wait in line. The first time I've ever had to wait in line to pump gas.
They're all leaving town, yeah.
They were all leaving, and the good news is they went up 111 and fueled up in La Quinta.
And then
Why do you have to go to Shell?
And then they crawled on the freeway in a sandstorm.
Once a month, I get a check.
And there was, as I'm sure Matt could attest to, there was a lot of commerce occurring on the 111 corridor from patrons of the venue in advance to it, especially Thursday evening. And so it's encouraging to see that there definitely are dollars being spent in the community.
It was
Les,
good. Thanks.
I wanted to, I saw something that was different this year that I haven't seen before on Madison. Bicyclists like crazy. So I'm assuming that there's some bike company out there making a whole lot of, I mean, we're talking pedal it.
I actually went out with Tri-Bike. It's the owner of the small one in Palm Desert, and they said they rent 200 bikes every weekend for this thing.
Oh, I'm sure.
And last year they lost 2 out of the 200.
Yeah. Well, I saw 200 on Madison just go by my house.
Well, when you go in the front gates, they're
that
just
every
lined up like in droves. It looks like some European country that just is cyclemania.
Well, they were coming out of PGA West.
Oh, I know.
The kids were in there, and they were riding bicycles out.
So my thought was, of course, being the detail person that I am, so they get there on their bikes, and then after the concert, they have to ride home with our dark sky ordinance in place. I wonder if when they're riding to it, they think about having to ride back home, but whatever.
One of the main reasons why there's a portable light at 54th and Madison is because last year what we were seeing with the volume of both pedestrian and bicycle traffic, there's a significant number of people, as I was mentioning to Mr. Spevacek and others, that exit out at 52nd in Madison. That starts about 30 minutes before the concert ends and runs for about an hour to 90 minutes, and that's usually where I spend my time at the end of every evening helping with the pedestrian component of it, and there's a real need for people just to help them they don't know where they're at.
They're stumble in the right direction.
So there's a real need for that, and we've made some fairly substantial changes over the last couple of years to where I think we've dialed it in to make it a very safe exit out of the venue. And that's also the key point for all the taxis and parent load and unload. So there's a tremendous amount of traffic going, pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicular traffic at that location. And but yeah,
I liked it. I like the idea. That's
it's encouraging to see. That wasn't the case just a few years ago. It continues to grow. They've added a tremendous amount of bike racks inside the venue as a result, and that's keeping vehicles off our streets too.
Yeah, I like it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Les.
Thank you.
And that, Frank, I think that you should let Les come in an hour later in the morning, because when I saw him Monday morning, he looked like he was up all night long, and that
was his
there was bags
Coachella
under
look.
his eyes.
He goes to poker parties.
There's a poker parties. But I appreciate it. Thank you, Les, for all that extra effort that you put in. Good. Yes, sir, come on up.
Quickly say something, Mr. Mayor.
Sure, absolutely.
Since I'm having now been here for 4 hours, I'm going to miss
We're gonna put you to work.
Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, eliminate, well, it was 5 to 9, that's the only part you really need to see is, you know what I mean?
I can talk
Yeah.
for an hour.
Yeah.
Are you're going to be dancing with them?
You wouldn't, if you saw me dancing, you would say, this is a guy who would qualify. No, anyway, Fritz Barclay, 61375, Fire Barrel Drive, La Quinta. And I have a question with regard to the piles that we remove. I was kind of against it, but everybody said, let's remove it. Now, can we also say that they remove these piles carefully with least amount of odor?
No, it's suffer through and get them gone.
Will they be required to cover the trucks like most of them? Because if that stuff flies.
Yeah, they got to cover the trucks.
They got to cover the trucks.
But they have to
So
disrupt it.
They'll have a canvas top over the thing, but.
But we
But
can't
I tell you,
stipulate that.
once these 9 piles are gone, it will smell again. Incredibly bad. Because, you know, if you look at a human being, if we eat cheesecake or fish, if you go to the bathroom, the process lends itself that it smells. So you will always have a problem with, I'm sorry to bring this example, but that's what it reminds me to. So once these piles are gone, we will have, now this is a monster asleep right now. It will come back again, because if you go to see what's there, laying there, once they process that, it's going to be very bad.
Fritz, they're actually required, biomass required to, once they leave the property, to put it back in the shape, the same shape it was when they leased it. That's a requirement.
I'm sure they will scrape the residue that's on top and then hopefully put fresh soil back over.
Because they can do a lot to minimize the smell. They have been now under pressure. They have done a lot. Now, what is going to happen, my last question, then there will be the hearing with Mr. Hardy, I think in October.
We heard originally, or initially, that we are essentially not invited. You know, we're not, they have not authorized us to intervene in that hearing. We did hear back from them, and that said that they really didn't think, I don't have it's been a while since I looked at the letter, but they were not granting our authority to intervene in the action, and we hadn't heard yet where it's going to be held.
Because, Mr. Mayor, the first time I was here and I saw you had a good question, because you said, do they know when they are smelling biomass? And Mr. Benoit was here and said, we will investigate and report based on facts. I have not seen any facts. It's a disaster. And then we had this town hall meeting where you were there. Mr. Benoit verbally and also in writing presented the residents of Trilogy with nonsense, no facts. It was horrible to listen after reporting for 1 year, to listen what this gentleman had to say. And I am concerned that, based on my experience, if we have to go to court at some point in time, a judge will most likely say, how many times did you smell it? What did you smell? Where did it come from? And in my opinion, I have done some background work, some intelligence work. It's a disaster. Nobody has really an answer, a serious answer to questions. Lots of paper, meaningless. So I just wanted to bring this up before I go and see the Dancing with the Stars. Good night.
Okay, Fritz.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a comment on Tim's report regarding the former Lang Luxury Home site and removing the green fence versus exploring the options for the post and chain concept. Is that what it's called? I'd like to explore what those costs might look like. to do that and remove the fence.
Yeah.
Recycled post and cable system. That's what I was looking for.
I just wondered because, the retention basin is not far off of that sidewalk because it goes down where the parking lot was going to be, and it was a parking lot retention basin with gravel in it, and that I'd hate for people to start walking off the sidewalk and falling down in that thing. See, with the fence there, they can't do it. But if we just got that cable there, that's an easy thing to trip over. I'd be a little concerned, maybe some other type of barrier that would look all right. But yeah, I'm willing to look at
explore some options. And
Sure. How much of the green fencing is a true collection of the PM10? And if we change that kind of fencing to this, do we have a
for
bigger
blowing
dust?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is one of the challenges, is if you switch it to the cable and post system, obviously now you've stopped any kind of PM10 mitigation that the green fence, albeit very less attractive fence, from being able to, but the perception's going to be, I know, because we have a lot of dust that comes from that side, we have a lot of dust that comes off the hillside, lands on that side, and comes over the fence, that as soon as people start seeing any dust coming across the property line, and they're going to say, well, why, they might ask, well, why was the fence taken down? So that we might be open to that by changing it to the cable and post, but we can look into all that.
Where did we stand on the ground cover?
It's brown, not green.
Yeah, it's brown, not green. It was treated, I think, last summer, if I remember correctly, because we've been on them because the fence has been struck a few times by vehicles. That's part of the reason why it looks so terrible. And we've been back out there. The guy the fence company's local. We've been, telling them they got to maintain it, and we've had them do the brown stabilizer, like I said, I think in August or July last year.
Right.
So.
Maybe we should insist that they do green. I mean, maybe people need to see.
At least do it once a year.
Pink or yellow or something.
Well, stabilizer.
Then we run into, we've been criticized that, well, somebody's calling in from Mars.
Bruce is calling.
We've been criticized, and Wolf was here earlier, for having a huge green mass as you enter the city on Washington, and how terrible that looks. So we looked for something a little less, intrusive.
See it if it's fenced in.
Well,
I mean, that's my backyard, so
it does not blow.
Right, right. And in fact, Helga, who was here before you earlier, had the same comment. She said it didn't even look like they stabilized it. Well, that's because they did, I believe, a clear stabilizer on her site. So people notice the green and equate that with
the brown.
The site is stabilized. The brown fades in too much. It looks like it's just native again. So,
I think we need to use it green. There's going to be some people that don't like it,
but we know it's there.
But we know it's there.
Yeah,
I didn't know that they put brown down there.
They did.
So I have go ahead. A question though. That alluvial fan area that's there, that doesn't get stabilized.
It's natural.
So
There's so much that blows at me.
I know. So I mean.
At least now the memory care facility is going to block some of that from my backyard. It comes all the way across Washington.
Do you know how that gets there? I was amazed when Tommy Hartung explained it to me. That the east winds bring that sand over the top of the mountain, and then it drops down onto that property, and that's how that keeps growing.
You mean that comes from Indian Wells?
That comes, damn right.
We ought to send it back.
That's IW said. But that's how that has grown. That's how wasn't, well, I guess it was natural that alluvial fan came there, but that's what it was. So it's really amazing.
Speaking about green fabric. We have noticed, Chris Clark, about the property there on Adams, because half of that green felt is wrapped over the top of it, and it's wide open, and you can look through there and see that, all that sagebrush and everything on her property.
Yeah. That property's actually gone back to the bank now, as I understand it, so we'll have to talk to
Does she own that anymore? Or whoever owns it?
Yeah, we'll talk to them.
Yeah. Okay, the bank. We'll send the bank a notice, clean it up. Okay.
If I could, Mr. Mayor, on the report regarding the quarterly marketing report, and the, in review of that and the playlaquinta.com, I did a Google search of La Quinta to see what would come up. And the 14th item on that list was playlaquinta.com. So I doubt that too many people are going to go through that many items to get down to playlaquinta.com. So it's a great website. I mean, I went onto the website and everything, and it's a beautiful website. And I don't know if we're keeping track of its actual use, if we know how many people are using it to reserve rooms or anything else in La Quinta. But if we're going to use it, I would suggest we really do use it, and we do what's needed to bring it up. I mean, the 7th item on the list regarding La Quinta is a robbery on Highway 111. So, you know, at the Walmart. So,
which goes,
yeah, and
we need to set our priorities.
Nothing, yeah, and that's the first thing that actually talks about our city, is regarding, you know, the armed robbery on 111. The 10th item is regarding the resort, and the 11th item is regarding our city. So we're pretty far down on this list. I mean, the top item's obviously the La Quinta Inn, and then it's got Pebble Beach and tide pools and cheap hotel rates. So, yeah. So we can look at what we need to do to play La Quinta up. So if someone does Google La Quinta, we're somewhere on the front page.
They'll see what's important first.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Eddie.
Okay.
We have a lot for marketing stuff.
Okay, next item is mayor and council members' items. You know, I just have one quick one, and that the Senior Inspiration Awards. It was a very nice affair. Thank you, Linda and Terry, for being there. And that, I think it went off very well, and they, you know, introduced and talked to a lot of real nice people, and that, and especially the last guy from John Benoit's, who he went on and took the microphone and he took over.
Oh, that was Dr. Ron Hare.
Yes,
yeah.
Ron Hare.
Oh, Ron, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. He would do that.
It was really, really nice.
And it was,
else?
and it was great that our La Quinta resident Phyllis Stuchel, that was recognized, had her coffee club from the Old Town Coffee. She had 20-some people with her celebrating.
Yeah,
so it was,
cool.
it was a great group.
She had quite a group, that's right.
Yes, if I could, Mr. Mayor, I would like to call out and thank our fire chief, Jody Gray. I had an occasion to call her about a week ago, maybe 10 days ago. I'd gotten a call from a longtime resident of the community who had a son, has a son, who is kind of, they're at odds, the mother and the son. Yeah, really, and she's been ill, and he thought that she was iller than she thought, and so he called 911, and they sent an ambulance out, and they ended up taking her to a medical facility, and she was not very happy with the treatment that she got, and she was under some kind of, fear that it was kind of like a strike thing, so this was the one strike for her, and if she gets 2 more strikes, that they could put her away in a mental home. Anyway, it just went on and on and on, and she was very confused and very unhappy, and was so afraid that her son was going to come back and do this to her again. I've known her for a long time. I know that she has a daughter. She says the daughter has tried to help her, but doesn't pay as much attention as she's done. Anyway, I called Jody, and because she said she felt that she was mishandled enough that she was thinking about filing a complaint. And I said, well, if you really need to do that, that you should. And, well, how do I do it? And she wanted me to give her advice. Anyway, Jody did call her and made arrangements to go out and see her on the day that, and she was off work that day with her children when I caught her, and I felt very badly about that. Anyway, she ended up going to see this woman on the following Sunday, like 2-3 days later, and it was Sunday that she could see her, because the woman actually couldn't meet with her because she had bridge that day. So, you know, now it's getting a little, it's getting a little, anyway, she did meet with her and explained everything, and I think it went very well. And I think, you know, she did a fabulous job taking that much time of her personal time, and, So I wanted you all to know that. And then real fast, I don't have to talk about Phyllis, because we've already done that. And I don't have to talk about Place Bridge, that's Jody. And I don't have to talk about the other 2 letters, because you brought those up earlier. But then that leaves me with this one, and I have a copy of a press release that was released from the World Trade Center Steel Memorials Exhibit opens. They issued this, and they mentioned the 9/11 memorial that we have here.
Cool.
The memorials range from a sculpture in the shape of an eternal flame initiated by a Boy Scout in La Quinta, California for his Eagle Scout project. So I wanted to call that to your attention. That's it. Thank you.
I have a question. Do we have a New Desert Sun person? Yes. And you are?
David Zephyr.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the first name?
Dave.
Steve. Hi, Steve.
Dave.
Dave.
Nice to have you with us.
Yes.
Nice to
be here.
Okay, that's the end of things. We have no public hearings are scheduled tonight, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the city council meeting.
So moved.
Moved. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
I think the only button that doesn't work is the middle one. The left one works.
Yeah, it's just the one in the middle. It's been punched in and it doesn't come out.
Okay, we'll look at it.
You can't vote no on anything else.
Okay.
Oh, they work. They were working earlier.
Which one's next?
Okay, at this time, I'll call to order the regular meeting of the successor agency to the La Quinta Redevelopment Agency for Tuesday, April 16, 2013. Let it be known that all agency members are available and here. We have no closed sessions. Public comment. Anybody wishing to speak on an item on this agenda? Seeing none, then I'll move, let's see, confirmation agenda. Any changes by staff? By agency members?
No.
Okay. Presentations, none. Written communications, none. Ask for approval of minutes, April 2nd.
Second.
Moved and second. Please vote. Motion passes.
Consent calendar.
Moved and second. Please vote. Motion passes. Moved and second, please vote. Motion passes. Okay, at this time, I'll call to order the regular meeting of the Financing Authority for Tuesday, April 16, 2013. Let it be known that all authority members are here, present. Public comment, anybody wishing to speak on anything on this item? Seeing none, we'll move on to confirmation of any changes.
Move the minutes of March 19th.
And for the minutes of March 19th?
Second.
Moved and second, please vote. And the consent calendar?
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and second, please vote.
And move adjournment.
Moved and second, please vote.
Thank you. At this time, I'll call to order the Housing Authority agenda regular meeting for Tuesday, April 16, 2013. Let the record show that all authority members are present. I'll ask for verbal announcement of AB 23.
Board members of the La Quinta Housing Authority are entitled to receive a $50 stipend as set by Section 34274 of the Health and Safety Code, not to exceed 4 meetings per month, to be paid to members in attendance at every convened Housing Authority meeting.
Thank you. Now I'll ask for, is there any public comment? There being none, any confirmation, changes to any confirmation of the agenda? There being none, I'll ask for approval of minutes of March 19th.
So moved.
Second.
It's been first and second. Please vote. Thank you. That item passes. Next, we have the consent calendar.
Move the consent calendar.
We have a first and second. Please vote. Thank you. That item passes. We have no business session. Chair, board member items, public hearing. Ask adjournment.
Second.
Please vote. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.